Welcome, everyone. Hello. Hi. Welcome. I would like to now call to order the regular city council meeting to order for Monday, March 6, 2023. The invocation will be led by Pastor Craig Gilbert, Rose Hill Methodist Church, and the pledges to the U.S. and Texas flag will be led by Councilman John Ford. Let's also welcome Pastor Gilbert and his wife to our community. They are brand new.
Thank you. It's been a great 6 weeks getting to know Tomball so far. We look forward to what we hope is a long time here. Let's pray to the Lord, please. Holy God, we give thanks this day for the opportunity to gather both citizens and government as we work together for the good of this community. I thank you, Lord, for the leadership and the dedication of this council, for their willingness to step into the role of guiding this city and this community as it moves through the daily rhythm of living. I thank you for the dedication of our first responders and all of those who protect the health and well-being of the people of this city. And we pray that you would provide protection for their health and well-being as well as the families who support their tireless service. We thank you also for all those who serve this area, those who keep our lights on, our water flowing, and our streets safe to drive on and to walk on. God, be present today as this council hears from its citizens, those who count on their wisdom to keep this city moving in the direction needed to benefit not just the few, but every person who calls this city home. Lord, we humbly ask that you guide this council's deliberations and decisions this day and every day as they work for the good of this city. Give them your wisdom as they look to move all of us into a bright future for this community. Protect and bless us all now as we seek to follow your will. And we pray all of this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Face the flag, please. Remember, no comma after one nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
That sounded good. I think we got it.
We're getting
Got it, John.
Yeah.
All right. Next item on the agenda is public comments and receipt of petitions. At this time, anyone will be allowed to speak on any matter other than personnel matters or matters under litigation for a length of time not to exceed 3 minutes. No council board discussion or action may take place on a matter until such matter has been placed on the agenda and posted in accordance with the law. Tracy, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
Yes, I have Colleen Pine.
Okay, you can state your name and address.
I am Colleen Pye, 207 Florence, Tomball, Texas, 77375. So the reason for my discussion today is I did email council and city and did not get a response until, of course, today. But today was just the final straw. I received a letter a few weeks ago after you guys decided not to change my zoning. That's okay. They said, clean up your parking lot, except the rest of the city. And I sent pictures. There are a ton of them. I invite you all to go on my golf cart, take a 22-minute ride, and you'll find about 10. So I don't want to be threatened with a $2,000 fine violation when there are a ton over here. Now, I corrected mine immediately. I'm just tired of there's rules for we, but not they. I feel very singled out. Because there's a place right outside the city building that has, I don't know, 8 vehicles, 3 different commercial, an RV that someone is living in, and that seems to be okay and has been for 8 years. I'm tired of that. So I do want to be on the quote cleanup committee, and I do want some action. Also, when you go to complain on the ordinances on the website, which I know you're working on, but you can go only 3 times. Well, I've got it probably 25. I don't want to be the HOA, but I also don't want to be made an example of. I'm tired of that. I live, work, and serve here. And I have 6 properties, and we keep them neat and tidy and constantly improving them. And if you want people to come to Tomball and you want them to love what we have, I think it's very important that we address that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Lisa Daniels.
Name and address.
Hi, I'm Lisa Daniels. I reside at 403 F Street. And I was recently told that the Tomball Economic Development Group or Committee purchased the Baptist Church. Not sure if that is correct, but that's what I've been told. My property and my daughter's property at 405 F Street are right up against the back of the Baptist Church. And I was also looked up that the zoning says it can only be a church or a wedding venue. So I was also told it may become the city offices or some part of the city, but I hope we will receive a notice when the zone change comes up, because it will affect our property on that street and others close by. So I just want to know what's coming in the future. Also, to second what Colleen was saying, I've had times where I've come to the city to ask what the zoning is when I put up a fence or was looking at putting up anything. And I've been turned down sometimes, which is fine because I follow the zoning. But it seems like in historic downtown Tomball, there are a lot of other people that if you don't go and ask, they just do it. And then they never get told they have to reverse it or change it. So I just feel like who is ever monitoring the zoning, it should just be consistent, especially in historic downtown, because we all want to preserve, the beauty of our town. Thank you.
Alpine.
Al Pie, 207 Florence Street, Tomball, Texas. So I'm married to Colleen. This is the first time that I've been to a city council. I've been traveling on Mondays and now I don't do that anymore. So she's been able to keep me in the loop on everything that's been going on and things that are not what she likes and things that she does like, okay? Colin and I tried to get here 9 years. We finally got into Tomball. We've been here 6 years, as she said. We own properties. We love it here. It's the Mayberry RFD type of town. We want it to stay that way. There are a lot of properties that really need to be cleaned up, though. We tried to help a Remax agent out with some parking on some land that we had. We were told we couldn't do it. And then we got the $2,000 notice a day saying, look, if you don't fix it, you're going to get fined. But yet I have a guy that's next door to one of my Airbnbs that's got an orange truck that doesn't have a registration on it. And golly, the dang thing doesn't even move. And now it's got a registration on it. I don't even know how that happened. So we just need to have, seriously, the rules for thee and not for me. It can't happen in this small town. Whatever happens to us has to happen to everybody. Colleen has sent in, with nobody talking to her back, pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures of things that were way worse than what we were trying to do. And nothing's getting done. So I guess that's all I need. I just love our little town. I went to Klein High School. I've been here all my life. My best friend moved here in 3rd grade, and I've loved it ever since. I just wanted to stay a small town feel, because that's what brings all these people in. That's what keeps our property values coming in. The more they build, the more our property values keep going up. So let's not ruin that, okay? Thank you.
No one else signed up.
Is there anyone else who did not sign up who would like to speak on any issue at this time? For 3 minutes. Okay, then we will close public comments and receipts of petitions. Thank you. Next item is reports and announcements. March 11th is second Saturday at the Depot. The movie is The Rise of Gru at dusk. March 24th to 26th, Texas German Heritage Festival. April 1st is the Crawfish Bowl at Jurgens Park with the Tomball Booster Club. April 15th is Tomball Rails and Tails Crawfish Festival at the Depot. April 21st is Tomball Rotary Fish Fry at Jurgens Park. April 17th through 22nd is the Tomball Annual Spring Cleanup and Chipping Week. And so we will have crews going around. If you could expand on some of that, anyone?
Well, in the tipping week, I can tell you it's where citizens can call in and get on the list for if they have a brush pickup that needs to happen. And then we always have the recycle day at the Lone Star College.
Yes, so the shipping week will be throughout the entire week ahead, and cleanup week will have additional large bulky trash drop-offs at the old landfill site, as we've done in the past. And then on the Saturday, we'll have from 9 to, I don't remember, 10 to 2, we'll have the actual drop-off at Lone Star College, where we'll have the tires and various electronics
shred,
and shredding
oil.
and oil drop-off. And I
Battery.
believe this year we're also doing medical waste, just not needles.
Drug.
Yeah, so that, yes,
And paint and oils.
no paint.
No paint.
No paint.
Okay.
But we are working on all of the marketing materials, and we'll be getting that out over the next few weeks.
Okay.
How big of limbs?
The limbs for the tipping week, I don't know the exact size implement. It's in the marketing materials where it specifies what size they have to be limited to.
Okay, now dropping off the stuff at the dump, that can be any size, stumps,
For the most part, it can be any size. Chipping is typically 6 inches.
but you can drop off stumps and stuff like that, because I've got a couple of neighbors.
Mhm.
Can we please put on the website what you will not accept?
Yes, we include that
That's
in the
most
flyer.
important thing.
Yes,
If you put that, most everybody else will say, I can take this, but if I see not, then I'm not gonna take it.
yes.
Thank you. Early voting, that we will not be having a general election. So we do not. We had opponent that dropped out due to family emergency health issues, and so we will not be having an election. We will not be hosting an election. And will not have early voting. May 4th, National Day of Prayer at the Depot, and we will not be having Election Day on May 6th. So this just happened before this, right when this agenda was going out in 72 hours. So, yes. Okay, all right. Oh, well. Also, there is another, tomorrow, our library from 2 to 7 is having an open house, and they are showing a lot of the equipment they have that is digitizing a lot of the history and the cool things that they can do. There will be a ribbon cutting at 5:30 tomorrow at the college. So bring family, bring friends. From 2 to 7 tomorrow, they're having an open house at our college here in at the Harris County Public Library here at our college in Tomball. And someone has, can we reopen public comments? Okay. We noticed that someone else came in a little late, and so I'm opening public comments and receipt of petitions. If anyone wanted to speak for 3 minutes, you can speak about any subject for 3 minutes. Please come forward and say your name and address.
You don't have to. But
If you want to.
you're more than
Oh,
welcome.
I saw that people came in late, so I wanted to give people a chance to speak about any issue. Okay. Okay. Oh. Come on, Tracy, come on up and state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Tracy Fan. I own Aloha Beauty Lounge in Tomball. And the address is 107 North Sycamore Street. So I wasn't ready for this, but I come in just to ask for a city favor. I just opened the salon almost 2 years ago, and I spent over $1 million for my salon. And there is a new business coming right next to my salon, and I would say it kind of like jump your business. I feel like it's not really pretty or right next to my salon. So I'm wondering if anything we can do about it.
Okay.
And it just pop up like right away. So I'm not really sure if they have occupancy to open. And I'm not really sure if the city allowed them to open the junkyard business right there. And I know when I just opened the business, I spent a lot of money for replace, how is it called? What's it there?
Or,
You know, changing all the.
oh, she made a lot of changes in her building, the way she built her building, so.
For the
it's really,
street.
really nice. And she also had to do a lot of stuff on the streets to doctor it up.
So I'm worried about the junkyard when you put all the old car there and all that oil and clothes, it get into the drain and it will cost. Because I just spent a lot of money around there.
Tracy, tell
Okay,
them
thank
about
you. We
what-
can't have any board discussion or action in the 3 minutes. So we can put this on an agenda or have something later. I'm sorry, Councilman. So when we have the 3 minutes, no council or board discussion or action can take place. But we appreciate you coming in and making us aware of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity.
We're closing public comments. Anyone else? Okay, closing public comments. Next item, reports by city staff and members of council about items of community interest, for which no action will be taken.
Can I bring it up now?
Is
Speak
this
about
it?
it, Tracy? Yes.
Receive an update regarding
This is
utility.
on utility billing.
This is
Okay.
on the utility
I thought we
billing.
had comments. Dude, that's all is gonna be on utility building?
This
Uh,
is.
this is
reports by city staff members of council. Yeah, they have to be listed in order.
Okay.
So, Jessica. Who's coming up?
Right, I have just a few updates regarding the utility billing. Resume to normal operation is what we're gonna call it. So a little bit about our game plan moving forward. Just so council sort of knows what the process has been to get the system restored. So staff went through a data verification process where we were confirming both the city side data rates as well as customer data. We also entered about 3,000 manual payments that we had received via check or money order, one by one, that we received since December 20th, so that they would be applied on the January bills before those were issued. As of last week, all payment methods are now available, so we can take online payments, credit card payments in person or online, and all of our normal online payment systems are back operational. Because we issued the January bills on Friday, those who receive an e-bill should have received their bill via email. If you receive a paper bill in the mail, that will take a few days because it gets sent to the printer and then sent through the post office. Should be middle of week this week based on our normal timing. If at that time you see anything irregular on your bill, I do encourage you to contact the customer service office. We have about 8,000 active utility accounts between water and gas. So anything that we, may have missed in bringing the system back up, please contact us so that we can look into your account individually. And with that, I will say that due to the call volume that our office has been getting, we have dedicated additional staff to help support customer service. So we have a couple staff members who were formerly customer service reps who've been brought back into the fold. So we do have additional support to help answer questions as we get them. There have been a few key system changes that we had to roll out as part of this launch. Not ideal, but it was the way to get the system back up and running. First is that the city can no longer process manual bank drafts. So those were customers who signed up for a bank draft directly with the city. If you signed up for a bank draft through our online system, that is still fully capable. So any of the customers who are on manual drafts, we're encouraging to go through the online system and reset that back up. The second part of that is that we had to disable all automatic online drafts. And I'll explain kind of why that was important We had to turn those off prior to our January bill issuance because customers can preset the date that that automatic draft happens. So over the next few weeks, as we're adding additional bills, if that customer, say, had set their automatic draft date to March 24th or the 24th of every month, on March 24th, they might be billed for 3 months. And we didn't want customers to get forced into that. So if they choose to opt back into the automatic payment, we give them the warning of, hey, whatever you set your date as, your balance on that date will be drafted. All of these are going out through those regular communications that we're sending out to our utility billing customers. I hope you all received them. And that's sort of the last part, is that knowing that we need to get information to customers in a more robust manner, we are including a monthly insert into every single bill that we send out that explains the process, where we are, as well as we have implemented a new email notification system to our e-bill customers. So I hope you all received that. It went very well. We had a 75% open rate on that email notification. So that's a very positive, positive thing in terms of communications, that we're getting the message out to customers. So this is the planned utility billing schedule as it exists today. It's kind of small print, so I'll kind of walk you through it. January bills were issued on Friday. They're due on April 28th, which is a 56-day days to pay period. So you won't be charged any late fees or penalties as long as you pay your bill before April 28th. Our intention is to release the February bills by this Friday, so March 10th, keeping with that same schedule, another 56-day days to pay period, which would make those bills due May 5th. March bills running that same schedule, moving those to March 17th issuance, May 12th due date, a 56-day pay period. We wanted all 3 of those bills to kind of mimic each other's because they are the 3 that will occur outside of the normal timeframe. What you see in April and May is our trying to move back to a normal schedule. So reducing the days to pay on the April bill, still an extended days to pay, but not the norm, but not quite as extended as the 56-day. So moving that down to a 35-day period, those bills will be due May 19th. And then lastly, with May, we will resume our normal schedule, which is bill issuance by the 10th of the month and bills due by the last day of the month. That's a normal 21-day day to pay from bill issuance to due date period. With all of this, I will say that we're very, very flexible, and we do encourage any customer to contact us if there is any concerns about the ability to pay or this process. Certainly reach out to our office. I know that no customer asks to be in this situation, so we are working with everyone that we possibly can to make sure that no one is severely impacted by this adjusted schedule. And with that, I will answer any questions.
Jessica, I don't have a question. I just have a statement. I personally want to thank everybody within the city who's worked extra hours on all this, trying to get everything resolved and things back up to normal. You guys have spent a lot of time. I thank all of council. I will only speak for myself, but I'm very appreciative of what everybody has done. And I want to say thank you.
Yeah, I can tell you the utility billing staff, they're incredible. They've come in, they've done everything that we've asked as we've gone through this. Tremendous effort by that team and other city departments as well to help. So
thank you.
Next item is the old business consent agenda.
Mayor, if I may, please. It says here that reports by city staff and members of council about items of community interest on which no action will be taken. I've been on this council for 14 years, long time. And I did not realize that we had to have an item listed below that in order for us to speak. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's required by the Open Meetings Act, correct?
Thank you.
Next item on the old business consent agenda is all the matters on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted at one motion. There will be no separate discussion of any of these three items. If a discussion is desired, the item in question will be removed from the consent agenda and we will be considered separately. Is there any items on the old business consent agenda that this council would like to discuss or remove from the agenda? Okay. Then I have a motion to approve the old business consent agenda.
Motion. Second.
Okay. All in, call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
The next item is the new business consent agenda. The same rules apply. They're considered routine items enacted in one motion. No separate discussion on any of these three items. If discussion is desired, the item in question will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Are there any of these three items that anyone on council would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Okay, then entertain a motion to approve the new business consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Next item is new business. Discussion and possible action regarding legislative items at the 2023 Texas legislative session. David?
Mayor and Council, this is the legislative item that will appear on all of our council agendas to allow the council to be able to discuss any bills that may be affecting the city and then establish a priority list so that way we can communicate that with our legislators.
Okay. And Randy,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you very much for your dedication to this. So,
House Bill 2127, it's Senate Bill 814. Are again, state legislation aimed at reducing or eliminating local authority to control our own destinies and our own operations. These bills identify or attempting to give the state exclusive authority over any activity contained in the agricultural code, finance code, insurance code, labor code, natural resources code, or occupations code. I believe I handed out at the last meeting some additional information on these bills. But one of the things that really caught my eye, it would eliminate our ability to deal with outdoor festivals and sporting events. I'm getting tired, quite frankly. I'm getting very, very frustrated with our state. If you start looking at what they're attempting to do, you start looking at the definition of communism. The state controls everything. If they want to do that, then let's abolish all the city councils and let the state step in and run the state, which includes everything and everybody in it. But if we don't start sending a very stern representation of our feelings on this, it's going to continue. And quite frankly, if these guys up there want to do that, we ought to replace every one of them. But I'm getting really frustrated with this. They get real upset when the federal government says, well, you can't do that. We're gonna start taking that authority away from you. Yet they have no problem doing that to local government. In 1913, the legislature passed home rule city legislation because they knew and they fully understood that local control is how things should work in this state. You know, who better to deal with local issues than an appropriately elected council or mayor, however you want to style it. But this is getting out of hand. I don't want somebody from Laredo or Austin or Dallas telling us how we ought to run Tomball. I would, with the facade issues,
You know, somebody could come into town right now, buy a piece of land on Main Street and put up a metal building. It's got to stop. And I would hope that this council will adopt some sort of a resolution and send it to Governor Abbott, Dan Patrick, the local senator, our various local reps, and just tell them, cut it out, or we will work to replace you.
If I may, I made contacts while I was sitting at the hospital with every single elected representative. I got their helpers, whatever you want to call them. Not one of them, not one, including Tom Alderson, has tried to even contact me back. Period. And I find that very offensive because Tom Alderson was the one that told me, and I'm sure he probably told some of y'all as well, that if there's something going on in the legislature, y'all speak up so that we don't pass something that will affect you, much like the facade situation. Because we all went to him after the facade came through that we couldn't tell people how to build their stuff in our town. And he said, well, I didn't know how y'all felt. Y'all didn't say anything. BS. You know how we feel because I've made the calls. But I agree with Councilman Parr that we need to write a resolution, a staunch one, and tell them to back the hell out of our backyard, get in their own lane, take care of the state. You got enough problems with the state. You don't need to be here creating problems for us. And like he said, if they don't, then I personally will do everything I can do to get them unelected. They're here to represent us, not here to tell us how to do our business. It's just like these people out here. We represent them. They're supposed to tell us what they want. And then we're supposed to carry it on. That's the way government works. And if they're not willing to do it in Austin, we're fighting a lost cause. And I do think whatever we have to do legally to stop it. I'd be in favor of doing a class action lawsuit against the state, injunction, get them to shut it down. I don't know if we can do that or not. Get all the cities of the same size of Tomball and say, we're going to sue the state.
I know that part of that has been discussed is a small city, 50,000 and below is exempt from some of the bills that have been done in Austin that are aimed at the larger cities.
The facade hasn't been.
Well, that was before the facade.
Mayor,
And so
if
I
I may, I don't care what size city it is. The reality is, if people aren't happy with the way their government is run, they fire them. They have an opportunity every year to have an election and run people off.
So I agree that we need to, I think, a resolution, and what public officials look at is people's involvement. The chamber takes a bus up there to get what they need passed, and they meet with every one of the legislatures in 4 different areas, Valerie and Harless and Oliverson. And since this is going to affect a city, I think that maybe it's time to man the bus and deliver the resolutions and meet with them. A lot of our representatives are local though, that would come here. But when they know that it's not just the city, it's also the people we represent are behind changes and laws that will affect our city, that's what gets results. So is that something that we need to look at in a hurry? Because the legislator's going on right now, doing the resolution. Randy, would you be involved in that to help spear some of that?
Would love to, absolutely.
Okay, and I've got some information. Is it okay? We can't have everybody in the council. So, but you, Randy and I, okay, and put together the things to then make public with the rest of the council, and then possibly have a man the bus day. And we go to Austin and let our voices be heard. So, because I agree, it is disastrous to any city, but especially to a small city that's trying to bring their identity as we are being surrounded by Houston.
That's one thing I was gonna say, Randy, it's not just Austin and Travis County or Dallas or whatever, it's Houston too. I don't want anybody in Houston to tell us how we can run our city.
No, I agree with what Councilman Parr is saying, Councilman Townsend and yourself, Mayor. Do we know where TML stands on these?
Yes, we do.
Because they
Tim.
do have a pack, and I'm
Yes.
just curious.
Yes, and we also are in touch with the TML person, and they will be behind us. But that, they will be behind us, but I think this needs to be looked at. It's a short time frame. Session's going on. It's letting our local representatives know that we are not for this, and then letting them know what we're gonna do.
Okay.
And TML will support it, and we do have the TML person that did reach out to say, what do we need? What do you need from us? We're here.
Mayor, if you'll remember the last session, the legislature was trying to pass a bill that would preclude the use of public funds to be members of TML.
Right. And,
So, I mean,
and that we have fought. We have written letters. We have met personally, and that did not pass the last time, but they bring it up each time. And it is saying that TML is nothing more than a lobbyist, and it's not using public funds for lobbies, public funds being sales tax. But TML gives us a lot more goods and services. They represent cities. They represent big cities and small cities, and they actually have a small city division in TML now. So we fought that again. It's come up every year, and it is, to be honest, I think it's a fight of our state government, of our leaders in our state government against the city that they're in, Austin or Dallas. They're fighting for control of those cities. So, and we get swept in with that.
Do these bills that you handed over to her or this information, does it have the authors of the particular bills included in
Senator
it?
Crichton is one of them that.
She's gonna send it out to all of us.
And Senator
What?
Crichton is one that has sponsored one of these
Yeah,
bills.
no problem.
But he is doing that and it being directed by other politicians. So,
But we need y'all out there too, making comments.
who would man the bus? Was good. At least I got one, but we would put it out to, we need to go to Austin to let our voice be heard, and that gets more response than anything. Look at the chamber. They have been able to make so many changes and stop so many things. That's also how we got a college, was manning the bus. They said Tomball could not put a college in, and Diane Holland was the one who led that. And on the buses and up there, we need a college, and we got the bill passed to allow us to have Lone Star College in our town. So it does make a difference. It does make a difference, and we can't let apathy keep us from doing anything.
Does our council have any kind of email for sending to government, state officials that we can all sign?
Yes. We have email contacts for each.
Yeah, but do we have a form type, so we're all saying basically the same thing? We don't need 5 people saying 5 different things. Is there some kind of a form email? I've seen them before.
Yeah, we passed them out before.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
And said, here it is, send it from your email.
exactly. If we could
And-
get that, that way we're all on the same line, that would be really, really nice.
And make it public.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
people can send it
Absolutely.
from their private emails too.
And do it open letter to them if you have to. That-
And you have to remember too, there's 6,000 bills that are presented each year. And every representative has committees they're formed to, they're given to, and that's what they look at. Oliverson's medical. But he is aware of this.
Yeah, you get.
He
I
is aware.
promise
of
you
it.
he's aware of this.
Yeah, and so he's, and would like to talk, so that's good. And Harless and Swanson and all of them, so we serve the community. And that is part of our job. Part of our job.
Can we all go on the bus and not?
You'd have to post notes.
That's all we have to do is just post another story. Meeting on the bus. Okay.
And it's open to the public.
Okay,
Up to the capacity of the
Alright.
bus.
and Who here at the city is going to be our main liaison on this? City staff? You?
Yeah, right, and then I can. See the point.
You saw that big grin on his face, didn't you?
Jessica, maybe we need to pass it to you.
I think we need to add Joe, you know, true, I see that,
It
that.
does run downhill.
What is this?
There's a little bit of delegation there.
Those goes.
Okay. All right. Next item, any more discussion on item 1? Okay. Thank you, Randy. Item 2, next item is to authorize the city manager to execute an interlocal agreement between the city of Tomball and Harris County Emergency Services District Number 15, Chief Sikora.
Mayor and council, tonight you have the item before you, number 2, authorization for the city manager to execute the interlocal agreement with ESD 15. We have been working with ESD 15 on this. They have passed it. What it includes, or where it started, was August of 2022 when they broke ground on station number 4. The completion of that station is incoming roughly the end of July. It will provide a need for additional staffing. The current contract only allows for Station 5's staffing. It also has a contract service fee. This contract service fee is removed with this contract and provides for 25% of, I can skip the slide there. Yeah, okay. 100% of the salaries and benefits of all assigned firefighters, which would be a total of 18, plus one additional battalion chief that we added this past year. This will include all staffing for Station 4 and 5, will include overtime and all training costs. 100% of the operating cost of the district station to include office computer supplies, uniforms, chemicals, SCBA supplies, maintenance of all the aforementioned items, vehicle and building maintenance, as well as vehicle and equipment maintenance. 25% of the cost of the actual salaries and benefits of the fire department administrative staff, as well as the apportioned costs of the services provided by the city, such as the 25% for telecommunications and dispatch services, 10% of the city's cost to operate information technology, 15% of human resources, 5% of the finance department, and 1% of the cost of city management. I will take any questions you have at this time.
I do have one question. In
Yes,
one
sir.
of the slides, you talk about upkeep of maintenance.
Yes, sir.
Do we own the building?
No, we do not own the building. They are going to be paying for that's their portion that they'll be paying us. So we do not own the building. We occupy the building via lease agreement. Currently the maintenance is split 50-50. This will put all maintenance costs back on them as they own the building.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussions? Okay, then is there a motion to authorize the city manager to execute the interlocal agreement between City of Tomball and SD 15?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Call for the vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Good job, chief.
Next item is for consideration only. There will be no votes. This is for review and discussion of a proposed residential and commercial development on the west side of the intersection of Huffsmith Corville and Medical Complex Drive. Nathan?
Yes, Mayor Council, I'd like to make a brief correction there. It's on the east side of the intersection of Huffsmith Corville and Medical Complex Drive. And this is for a proposed residential and commercial development. I'd like to introduce you to Harrisburg Homes and Ardura, and they will be making this presentation before you today.
Good evening. My name is Sean Spear with Harrisburg Homes. I've come before you guys before. We are going to be closing on this property at the end of this month. We do have a couple of changes that since the last time we came before you that we wanted to introduce to you guys and kind of explain what we're doing. So as we can flip to the next slide. So if you look at the two pieces of property, we're going to be combining two tracts, one of which is the 17.3 acres. Part of that tract currently sits in the city of Tomball. Part of that is in the ETJ. The property behind it that's more triangle shaped, that's 31 acres, that is in unincorporated Harris County. So what we're going to be doing is combining both of these tracts together to create both a commercial and a residential portion. So next slide. So here with the coloring, you can kind of see on the red and blue, that kind of shows what's currently in the city. And the lower portion that's blue is where the ETJ is. And then currently for the CCN of the green, that's in Aqua Services, which provides water to the community just to the north and the community just to the south. So what we're going to be presenting once we close, we're going to be submitting applications for a couple different things. One would be to decertify the CCN for Aqua and to bring that into the city of Tomball. So we would be taking all three pieces of property that are currently colored red, blue, and green, bringing them in all to the city. So that's what the slide towards the right-hand side of the presentation. You can kind of see everything now is going to come in. Previously, when we'd come in, we had asked about trying to reduce down medical complex or eliminating that. It's still going to continue on as part of the thoroughfare plan. It's going to be reduced down to a minor arterial, and that'll be at that intersection. That'll be the hard corner that's created with medical complex and Huffsmith Corville. So that will continue on. Now, as you get towards the back portions of the property, that's more towards the triangular piece. That's part of the City of Houston thoroughfare plan. So at some point, that would be continued on, hopefully, but that would not be part of our project at this point. It would be just to allow access into those areas for people to drive. So in this, you can kind of see where the residential portion and the commercial portions are. What we would be submitting as part of our proposal is a planned development. Part of that's going to be for home sites that will be roughly on average about 8,500 square feet. And with those, we're going to take the two commercial tracks and basically create a destination location. We had talked previously with multiple members of council and city staff about kind of what our vision is for this. And it's to be a family-friendly location that everybody that's a resident of Tomball can enjoy, whether they live in this area or not. The commercial areas ideally would be dining locations, hopefully with some type of maybe boardwalk type thing where people can dine outside and overlook the green areas where the detention area is. That's going to be on the northern portion of the track that's kind of shaded. I think it's kind of a bluish green color. It's kind of hard to tell from here. But with that, there's going to be walking trails, fountains. And so all this would be part of that planned development. In doing this, part of our application is also going to include a public improvement district. And so we're finalizing the details of that for the application. The secondary access point, you can kind of see right now on the lower portion of that would come through Country Club Greens. We're still defining exactly how that will be laid out in the residential portion. And then you can also see here where the thoroughfare goes through. Part of that is the proposed part that will connect up through what's currently Mahaffey as it intersects up to 2920 where the new fire station is. Part of the plating and the permitting, obviously, we're going to be working with the city to go through that part. But really, that's what we wanted to kind of explain what we were doing. We have changed a little bit of a direction that we were going. Part of that was just continuity. One of the things that came up at a previous meeting was fire, any type of city services, how all that would be handled and having everything brought into the city from a continuity scene as we're trying to create this as a destination seems to make the most sense to us. And that's, like I said, what we will be presenting. If anybody has any feedback or any comments that or things that we should take into consideration, we're all ears. We want to be able to expedite submitting this and working through the processes. Last thing we want to do is to have somebody caught off guard or unaware of what the proposal is. But we think this is a benefit to the city. We think for all the households that live in this area, it's underutilized and underserved in terms of places to grab coffee or grab something to eat with the kids when you're heading on the way home. Over in this area, it's on the kind of the eastern side of where the city limits is, right there where Huffsmith Corville is. That's kind of the line where it kind of divides what the west side is the city and the The east side is kind of depending on where you fall. It falls into multiple jurisdictions. But once again, just to bring everybody together and have everybody as a sense of community as part of Tomball.
Is there a question or a comment?
Well, I didn't know if y'all had any questions or comments for me. I'm sorry. I thought
I thought you were taking a breath.
No, I'm sorry. No. Honestly, this is a joint venture. I mean, we feel that as being part of the community, this is something that we want to get it right. We want to get it right the first time. And part of that is having everybody here that's seen this project before in a couple different versions. This is what our final version is. And like I said, we're set to close in about three to 4 weeks. And we want to be able to, once we close on this property, go ahead and have all the submissions ready to go and start the process to go through everything. And we know there's going to be questions, and we know that there's going to be people that have kind of ideas. And really, the idea of today is not to catch anybody off guard by these submissions, but we've been working with Nathan and Drew. I mean, they've been great in giving us some feedback of things that we know we need to make sure we incorporate, especially for some of the detention areas. But how do we make those not just areas to hold water, but things that multiple people can visit at the same time that are throughout the community? We're going to have ample parking in the commercial area, which will allow people to be able to park off-road, to be able to access those. And like I said, it's the idea being is that it creates a destination. We've talked previously about monumenting the hard corners of Medical Complex and Huff Smith Corville, kind of like where the technology area is for us. It kind of defines that area. And I think that ultimately helps us on the building side sell homes, because it creates an area that people want to live in.
This will still have the our cut through over to Mahaffey that connects to the fire station.
So part of what we would be doing is the eastern portion of Medical Complex as it goes from Huff Smith Corville up into the community entrance. Ultimately, it would be a minor arterial. Our connection is going to stop once we get to where the residential access portion is. And then at some point, our hope is that we're able to connect through to Mahaffey. But that would be something I think would be, because it's in City of Houston thoroughfare, it's in Harris County precinct. Currently, that reservation is in Harris County precinct 3. There's a lot of other municipalities and entities. I would think that we could all come together and find a way to make it work. But that's not going to be part of the initial development of the community area and the residential and commercial
But your
parts.
plats will show that this.
They will. They'll have
that,
dedications
and it
for
will
that.
not have development on it. of
Correct.
any
And all
commercial
that-
or Residential.
Yes, all that will be set aside as being future development, but it'll all be reserved in the recorded plats.
That east-west corridor is important to the fire station and to the city.
Absolutely. And that's part of what was brought up at the last meeting, was making sure if there's a need for some type of emergency service coming off of 2920, in the event that that road does connect through, it allows easy and quick access to not only this area, but all the areas that are along Huff Smith Corville without having to go all the way north up on 2920. And so that was part of the dedication of that right of way, was so hopefully some point in the future, hopefully sooner rather than later, all that connects through. But there's multiple different governmental entities that all have to coordinate all that. But the reservation will be set up based on the curvatures and try to make sure that the roadway makes sense for the type of roadway that it would be.
Because the school has added more traffic and such at 2920 and 2978 with their developments. And how big were your lots?
So on average, we're estimating that the lot size is going to be 65 feet wide by about 130 feet deep, which will give us about an 8,500 square foot lot. Obviously, in a development for residential, every lot is unique and different. They're not cookie cutter. We have to work with the land plan that we have and make sure that the roads make sense for the street layouts and stuff. But on average, that's about where they would be, is about 8,500 square feet.
And the average size of your home or townhome or whatever you're building on it?
So the product that we're planning on building, and obviously the economy right now is a little kind of uncertain, it's changing a little bit, but where we've had a lot of success is some of the product that you guys have seen on Baker Street. Those are the houses that we built on the little triangle piece that's between Baker and Hicks, and goes up, where it's kind of a modern farmhouse craftsman style look. That's been extremely popular. All that stuff was done in compliance with the city ordinances and making sure all the codes were met and all inspections were done. Everything was submitted and permitted through the city. Our goal is to be that type of home, probably on average, just over 3,000 square feet, give or take a little bit, depending on if it's a 1-story, 2-story, the number of bedrooms. Obviously, we're going to respond to what the market wants. kind of like we did with Baker Street when we started that project. We had a vision for what we thought it would be. If I could have 20 more of those lots, we could have them sold immediately. We had so much success with that, but it was kind of unique and there was not anything really like that. But in this area, there's really not something that's like what we're proposing here, especially with the destination idea of you're in walking distance to restaurants and in some ways also golf carting distances to some of these, depending on where you live. And that's really what our goal is to be able to pull from some of the existing communities that are either there or in current development. So all these people have a place to go without having to drive out to Kirkendall and Grand Parkway. And ideally with these areas, they're going to be in the city. So that's going to generate tax revenue for the city, both in terms of commercial and residential. But part of that is going to be, like I said, responding to the market. I mean, right now that Craftsman style is very popular. It's a traditional throwback to what we all kind of imagined from years ago. But we'll also have some incorporation of new ideas and new plans by the time that we actually break ground and start construction.
What about infrastructure? Schools, there's sewage capacity, water capacity, talked about roads.
Well,
See the detention.
Mayor and Council, and that's precisely why we asked if they could present to the council, because as you can tell, there's a ton of moving parts to this development. There's going to be annexation, there's going to be CCN issues for the infrastructure, talking about PID request, rezoning. And so before they start all of this different movement, and it's going to be a lot of time and effort to get all of it done. The true ask here is just a consensus if the overall idea or the plan is something that that you see is what we're looking for and get behind. So it's really at the preliminary stages at this point.
So what zoning are you thinking about putting in?
Plan development. So that's where we.
What size lots you're saying? Because you know, I'm not going to go anything under 9,000
Well,
square foot.
that's why I wanted them to present here. So it's 8,500 square foot lot.
That's a good size.
That's a good size lot, 8,500. I'd be okay
It's
with it.
bigger than the SF6. So
Yes,
it's
a
just
lot
under
bigger.
SF9.
And then the PIDs, you've discussed the PIDs have changed over the time that now,
Right, and this is an example of that. when
because
we-
this wouldn't qualify for me, a PID right here.
It's 50.
Correct, because it's under
50
the
acres.
50 acres.
Isn't it 50 acres?
It's just under 50.
It's just shy of that. And if you look at the far northwest corner, that little carve out that you see just above the blue area, he's actually the property owner of the two lower sections. If for some reason to get across that 50 acre threshold, we're talking about a couple hundred square feet. I imagine we can work that out. I prefer to keep everything as it is, but we're just shy of the 50 acres. But if you look at the overall project, including that piece of property that's just north of there, we can make that work somehow, some way if we need to. But I think we're close enough for the purposes of establishing something that we're going to be investing a lot in this. And for us, we're part of the community. I mean, we live in the community, and for us, I live off Husmith Corville. I mean, I'll tell you, there's a selfish interest. I'm going to go eat here. I'm going to go here. And so these home sites are big home sites that they're not like what you see in SF6. These are much larger than that.
You're about 43 acres here.
We're 49.3 acres as you combine the two tracks.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this portion that's in our ETJ is it our ETJ or is it Houston's ETJ?
It's in City of Tomball, ETJ.
Okay.
The only thing that falls in City of Houston at all is Mahaffey as a roadway falls into the City of Houston thoroughfare plan that dates back to the year 2000. That predates the Grand Parkway. In my prior presentation, when we were trying to abandon that, that's what we were trying to go off of. The Grand Parkway eliminates a lot of that. But the safety concern was something that was brought up and that we took very serious consideration of. That makes sense. Like the reality is we want everybody to be safe.
I just see that decertify it and then annex it and make sure we don't have to have any problems with Houston releasing it from their ETJ.
No, it's only the roadway that portion falls in. Everything else is in City of Tomball, ETJ, or just the CCN for Aqua Services.
So that roadway, will it have to be built to the City of Tomball specifications or the City of Houston?
If you're in the City of Tomball specifications, I would think City of Tomball specifications. So what that's part of once everything is annexed in, is you all have complete control over continuity of the roadway without any discrepancies. And that's what our goal is to make things that make sense for
How
all
many
of
lots
us.
do you think this would support?
We're right now in our preliminary phase, it's just over 90. And that's as you see that kind of piece kind of carved out now. Now, there's definitely some, before we present, we're going to fine tune that, but that's what we think it's going to be.
Approximately.
Yeah.
In the homes just south of that are showing up, the lots to just south of that, are those about the same size lots or are those SF6? I'm not sure.
So the ones just to the south, that's Country Club Green. We actually built quite a few homes in there. Most of the home sites in there are 70 to 80 feet wide, but they're not as deep. And so us having the 130-foot depth and the 65-foot width, what that allows us to do is to be able to have, if people want a third car garage, we can accommodate that. If they want to have a wider face on the front elevation, we can accommodate that. The additional depth allows us, if somebody wants to have a swimming pool, we have enough depth in the backyard so that way people can look at that. That's one of the things that a lot of people, when they're looking at buying a new home, that's the first thing they ask is how big is the backyard? Because I'm putting in a pool. Now, very few people actually do that, but we want to make sure that we have a big enough home site that all those options could be met if somebody that was what they were looking for was any one of those. And 130 feet deep is a pretty deep lot from a development perspective. Most lots you're going to see are 115 or so.
And all the traffic, since you're not proposing at this time, building the road past anything but your entrance, will be at the intersection for commercial, residential and everything. The only way out on the road is the intersection of Medical Complex Drive and Huffsmith as it is now.
As it is.
You'll also come out on the greens.
Yeah,
Country
but not
Club
right
Greens?
now, that's in future.
Not, yeah, there's, it's not on this plat.
There's like one on the downside.
Second access.
And Country Club
Yeah, but
Greens
they're
has
only
said
talking about
okay,
developing this right now.
because they're not in the city, so it's
Yeah, they're not in the city. Part to answer your direct question is,
coming through their subdivision, which is gated.
it is, yes. To answer your direct question is at this point, creating the intersection is we have to have the intersection in place for people to understand the concept. Once we get people living in this area, I think it's going to make all kinds of sense for the roadway to be put in. As we've talked with the city about that, obviously the expense of doing that is one of the things that I think all of us are aware of. And it's just balancing out things that do and don't make sense. I mean, trying to connect all that. The bigger problem is right now is that in the city of Houston portion, there are a couple of residences that are there that fall into an encroachment issue. And that's going to be up on that far north corner. It's actually outside of the area that we show delineated by our dark line. You can see as the small piece kind of curves up, there's two residences that are currently in that area. And I think, however, that's going to have to be done either through condemnation or eminent domain. At some point, those I think are the bigger issues that have to be handled. That's going to fall outside of our purview and the parameters of what we will be able to do because it's not in our project to begin with.
So who eminent domains?
In the city limits, it would be the city.
So the city would be eminent domaining people's homes for new development.
Not necessarily. I think the thoroughfare will, the intersection will allow ample access and exit. We're going to have fewer home sites that are in Country Club Green. And if you look at Country Club Green, that's just south of us, they only have one exit point. And it fronts right onto Huffsmith Corville, and that's not a signaled intersection. So if you're leaving Country Club Green in the morning time or in the evening time, you're waiting on traffic to clear to be able to cross. We're going to have a signaled intersection that is already there. So this isn't a hypothetical that for safety reasons will allow the flow of traffic to come and go. And we're going to have less rooftops in our area than Country Club Greens. And same thing with the communities to the north of us. But I think that signaled intersection does allow for a lot of that safety concern and traffic concern is trying to manage that part of the process.
There will be a single intersection for egress and ingress into this complex.
Yes.
So I was talking into Country Club Greens, that hasn't been discussed with Country Club Greens yet.
It's been discussed informally. There is a fire access point that's there now. But in terms of having a formal conversation, yesterday I talked to the president of the HOA for Country Club Greens. They're pretty excited about this project because the things that have been proposed on this property up until we had it under contract were not things that any of them considered to be desirable. But the overall scope of this project, these are places that they're going to visit on the commercial side. So everybody I've talked, and I have family that lives in Country Club Greens. There's not any negative feedback that we've gotten about that. And I can't speak for everyone in Country Club Greens. I'm sure there's probably plenty of people that would just disagree to disagree. But when you consider the access that this allows with Huff Smith Corville now being widened, and this small little area is where the widening still needs to take place as you go through that kind of S curve in Huff Smith Corville. But if you go south of Boudreaux and you go north of Mahaffey, everything's already boulevarded. So once all this kind of connects through, and that's part of the precinct, well, I guess precinct 3 now, but was precinct 4 widening project, all of that is kind of, it's underway. And I know it's taken longer than it probably should have, but by the time that this development is operational, I think all of that connectivity is already going to be complete, and all the signaling is there and all the safety features are there. And I think it's an easy access for anybody in that area.
Any other
So,
questions? or
so this
discussions?
road after you cross 2978 there, Huff Smith Corville, goes down to 1 lane each way. Is that right? Or is
So-
it 2 lane divided?
It's 80-foot right away.
But the road that were proposed being built is what?
So what the
How many
dedication
lanes?
would be a boulevarded road that has lanes going in both directions.
One lane, but
It's gonna be similar to what we have right now.
Which is 1 lane, 2 lane, 2 lane.
okay,
Just
2 lanes.
2 lanes.
Okay, 2 lanes, so 4 lanes total. Okay. So we're gonna extend 30-mile-an-hour speed limit on this street because he mentioned golf carts.
I mean, these, and then it gets into the establishing the roadway section there is designed for certain speeds. And so just for example, the wide 120, that's a 45-mile-an-hour
Right.
section. And so these, so yes, but you can set the speed limit.
So 30 is
Correct.
tolerable. Okay.
And
Just
Or 35.
honestly, we build in communities where there's families with kids, right? So we don't want people speeding.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that things are safe for people to feel comfortable. Our goal is to have this being a walkable area that everybody in Tomball can enjoy. We want
Right.
people to feel comfortable on foot.
But I think our ordinance on golf carts limits the roads 30 miles and under, doesn't it?
35, isn't it?
30,
35, isn't it?
the
35.
roads that they can go on.
I know Harris County is 35, but I'm not sure about the top.
I think it's 35.
I think it's 35.
It's 35.
Oh, I can go some more places. Okay.
Yeah, our expectation would not to have anything above that at all.
Okay.
Like I said, we want people to feel comfortable on foot.
Yeah, 35 is a little fast.
I'll say this, as long as you stay around the 8,500 square foot lot and meet the other ordinances that the city has, I would lean towards the favor of this.
Yeah.
If that's what you're asking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any other feedback that you guys have before we do our submission that maybe that we should consider? I mean, that's definitely what we were aiming for, was trying to make sure that everybody felt like this was a good thing for the communities.
Well, your
Yep.
identification of a 15-year PID also,
That helps.
that helps.
Okay.
And
Stay with it.
how strong are we if we're gonna go under the 50? For a PED? How
Could be on a
strong
base by base. contingency
are we
there.
gonna ask them to buy another acre?
I'm good with 49.3.
Okay, because that's the
Yeah.
precedent we'll be setting from now on.
No, It's
And I
it's on
know
an
we-
individual,
We have turned some
individual,
down.
yeah, you don't have to do it just carte blanche. You just take each individual development and say, yeah, we want this or no, we don't. want this.
I mean,
And then
you
you
know,
also look at the additional detention and what the additional amenities are.
Well, and with the detention, I think that's one thing that's important to mention too, is originally what started this whole conversation, because originally we were trying to keep the residential out of the city, was the city had a desire to control the detention, because there's other projects that the city has that this allows them to be able to feed into. So that was kind of the idea with this large detention area, is trying to make sure that it's something that makes sense for all the surrounding areas that are there.
What subdivision is just north of that?
Willow Creek
Willow Creek Estates?
Estates, yeah.
have we, I don't remember, have we ever turned anyone down because they were under 50?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just because they were under 50?
I thought you did that first.
not any other issues, just because they were under 50.
I'd have to go back and revisit notes, but I think we have.
I thought that we had.
The only one I know of is the
Just-
History Maker Homes back here, and we eventually approved that.
Yeah.
That's when they
but-
went back second time to give you everything.
Yeah.
And that's something I want to make sure you understand that dry retention pond with this stuff, we're expecting a lot more out of PIDS now, to get PIDS away.
A lot of.
Our goal is not to have something that looks boring and bland,
No, I'm just saying.
for sure.
they're saying Playgrounds.
Walking back.
Pickleball courts.
We,
Driver, license plates readers.
Municipal halls.
yeah, we've had some very entertaining conversations with Drew and Nathan. And I have to say, they've been awesome in trying to help us kind of narrow down what makes sense. And part of it is we want to make sure it's something that makes sense for everybody. And so, yes, our expectation is not doing the bare minimum. Our expectation is we as a builder can sell a lot easier in areas that are pretty, in areas that draw people in areas that people want to live in. And that's not doing the bare minimum. I mean, for us, like I said, this is going to be a destination that we want people to know, kind of like in the old days, people referred to Four Corners, right? Everybody knew what that was. If you grew up in this area, you know what Four Corners is. It has a little different meaning today, but that's kind of the idea with this is let's have something that people talk about. And, hey, where are we going to dinner tonight? Oh, we're going here. And right now, a lot of these people go to Grand Parkway and 99 because that's where the newer restaurants are. And for us, that's a perfect way to take away from that.
I just didn't want you to get caught off guard, Sean.
I appreciate that.
And you think, oh, this is great. And then we come back and say, we're not going to approve a bid. because you don't
understand.
have Enough amenities in it.
Yeah, and for us, like I said, we're walking into this knowing and wanting it to be pretty and being something that's desirable, not something that's just gonna check off a box.
I think Nathan and Drew, the honeymoon's over with them. They pretty much know what we want. And I would listen to them. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you exactly how to build it.
Sure,
But
I understand.
Tell you what's passed and what hasn't passed.
I just didn't want another landowner to come back and say, hey, I was 49.2 and you said no.
Well, and in the event that I need to have the conversation, the piece of property that's in white is Brandt. Actually, that back part of his property is a little detaining area. So if he had to work out something with him, we could. I prefer not to bother what he's already established and is functioning for him, because I think we can create everything with what we have to work with. But I also want to make sure that we're in compliance with, if the city is going to make some type of consideration for that, there's a good reason for it.
Bring us a quality product, with a quality subdivision, and it's right there at that borderline. I'm sure we'll all think very positive of it.
Okay.
If you come in here with 25 acres, it's not gonna happen.
No. And like I said, I think we're a known entity. I mean, you can drive right here on Baker Street and see what we've done. And it's a little different than what some people kind of thought we were going to do in the beginning. But to us, our office is here in Tomball, and we use that as a reference point to explain to people what we build, how we build it. You can walk by and see and touch that stuff. Granted, it's private property now, so not really as much. But I mean, for us, that's part of creating the sense of community. And it's a throwback to something that's from yesteryear. It feels good.
Any other questions for him or direction that we need to give? Or any other questions you have for this diocese on
No,
direction?
I'm good. I appreciate everybody's time and I appreciate everybody's feedback, and we look forward to being able to get everything submitted to you guys, and anything that we can do to expedite that, let us know, and we'll get everything working through the proper channels. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is executive session. City Council will meet in executive session as authorized by Title V, Chapter 551 Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act, for the following purpose: consultation with city attorney regarding the matter which the attorney's duty requires to be discussed in closed session, deliberations regarding real property, deliberations regarding security devices. Let the record show it is now 7:15 and we'll enter into executive session after a 5-minute break. 7:20. Now, when we come back, it doesn't. Executive session, but you're welcome to stay and watch us adjourn.